Now, but about this is amazing. I love this movie, and I'm a huge fan of all of you. So thank you very much for your time. Chris, was there any evolution in how you approach Stitch's voice or personality for this version?
No, he's just really consistent. So for me, my part of this was just a lot of fun. Yeah, not a lot of not a lot of adaptation on my part. I just came back in and did what I always do with him.
That's awesome. Now, Courtney, were you familiar with Cobra Bubbles when you were first offered the role, or did you just hear his name is Cobra Bubbles and agree immediately?
I was told by my family I have to do it. Because our twins were little when the movie first came out, and they were afraid of Stitch. The Stitch characters scared them, so we didn't watch it. And you know, these animated films, when you have little ones, you watch them 6 and 7 times. This one we didn't watch, so I wasn't in. You know, if it was Cars or any of the other movies like that at that time, I'd have been all in it. But this one I wasn't. So I came into it as a newbie and was brought into the world, the Stitch world and the Hawaii shooting of the movie world, and was embraced by everyone. So it was a pleasure.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. I just love the name Cobra Bubbles. I wanted to say it several times in a sentence.
Yes, you wanted me to give you some...
Cobra Bubbles.
I give you nothing.
I know, the name's hilarious.
Let's all say it together.
What
1, 2, 3.
Cobra Bubbles.
You got it, Chris.
Now, Tia, I've loved your work for so long. Before I ask you a Lilo and Stitch question, though, and run out of time, I want to ask you, what's your Pavlovian response anytime you hear the song Dreamweaver?
Ooh.
Gosh. To sweat profusely and run in fear. No, I'm just kidding. It's amazing. I just see the soft focus with the, you know, the twinkle and the soft focus and that star filter. It puts me in a happy dream state.
I love that so much. Now, you voiced Nani in the original Lilo and Stitch, and now you're back playing a completely new character.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to know what your reaction was to hearing that they wanted you to come back for this.
I was so happy and excited to play not the girl that's running away from social services, but to be the social services lady with a heart of gold that's advocating for the young girl and tells her, you can do this, I know you can do this. And in my own backstory in my head, I thought, well, maybe Mrs. Keikoa went through the system and rose up herself, so she knows that you can get out of the system. You know, that's what I've always been my internal dialogue with this one as I was doing this film.
Did it feel very full circle for you to come back in this way?
Oh, yeah, 100%. I mean, 23 years later, to still be able to come and be part of the Stitchiverse like this, because he's a perennial favorite. Every summer, you see all the merch come out. That's how much they love him, and I love him, and how we embrace the deeply flawed parts of ourselves, that somehow we can overcome it if we just, you know, love enough. We can love all the scary parts away.
That's so cool. Chris, between this and How to Train Your Dragon, it's crazy that you're getting 2 live-action remakes this year. Yeah, how does it feel to see these animated worlds that you've helped build continuing to resonate and evolve for new generations?
I'm really proud of the story work that went into both of those, and coincidentally, both of those were co-written and co-directed with me and Dean DeBlois. We co-wrote and co-directed both of them, one right after the other. So yeah, it's a lot of work goes into the stories on these things. You know, Lilo and Stitch, 100% original. Outside of Paris, there's this thing in a vault. It's called Le Grand K. It is the kilogram. There's only one. There can be only one. And all over the world, there are copies of that kilogram that they bring to compare to it every year. Lilo and Stitch is the Le Grand K of its own universe. So it's 100% original, and everything in it is, you know, is canon. How to Train Your Dragon was an adaptation, but both of them required an equal amount of labor, story-wise, to get where they needed to go.
Amazing. Guys, thank you so much for your time. Like I said, I love this. It's no joke, one of my favorite of the remakes that they've done so far in live action. Chris, it's awesome to meet you finally, and I hope we get to do this in person one day. Thank you guys so much for your time.
Thank you, Chris Sanders.
Thanks, Chris.
I just saw the movie last night. It's fantastic.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks so much.
Yeah, I think it's genuinely like one of my favorite of the live action remakes for sure. I wanted to know, like, what were the biggest challenges in designing Stitch and some of the other aliens for live action while keeping their design faithful to the original?
Yeah, I think it's a really hard thing to do that not a lot of people maybe give enough attention. They sort of think, oh, the character design worked in the original, so we'll just port it over. I think being super literal about it is a big mistake. Like, I think if you look at it and you're like, great, it looks like it could sit in a real live action environment, we're done. You're not done. You're not even half done. You really need to find stuff that embodies the original, but is sort of like a rhymes. It can exist in the real world, but rhymes with the spirit of the animated film, because a lot of times people, when they make it look completely literal, they're like, oh, perfect, the lighting's perfect. But then you see it move, you see it be in the film, and it feels like there's nothing behind the eyes, and it's too stiff, and it doesn't feel like the same character. And that, as a huge fan of the original, that's like something I was certainly passionate about nailing. I think like the key to that is probably spending a bit more time on it than a lot of these movies maybe do. And not just working with visual effects specialists, but also working with animators, including especially character animators, and including the animation team from the original film, because they know stuff that's in the back of their head from all those years ago that will save you so much time and make the character 1,000 times better. And so, we were lucky enough not just to have Chris Sanders return, and he was one of the first people I sent an early concept art of Stitch to, but also we got to Zoom with the original team, who are so like enthusiastic and generous, and Alex Cooper-Schmidt, who was the lead animator on Stitch, for example, would do drawovers for us. So we would send him our first walk cycle, and he'd say, oh, well, actually the butt goes down a little bit more, the tail's an inch too long, blah, blah, blah. All these little things that the animators of that original, character know just innately, intuitively, but would have taken us, like 10 months to figure out. All those things were really essential to landing at the design and the style of animation that we did.
Yeah, I can't imagine how complicated that's got to be. Jonathan, I know this isn't your first live action remake rodeo. What's something you learned working on Aladdin that you were able to implement in Lilo and Stitch?
Yeah, I would say dealing with your own terror of messing something up that everybody loves. I think that's one. I think the philosophy, I think, was very similar to that, which is like, what are the things that are like flags in the sand that you're putting down that you're like, we can't mess that up. So whether, it's like the carpet ride in Aladdin, like we're gonna get to that moment somehow. And this one, like a little bit broken, but still good. Even her saying, leave me alone to die, early on, like there's these beats or moments or lines that you're like, that was so good. Yeah. You have to keep that. But then everything in between, you do allow yourself to sort of go through the decision-making process of like, these are real people now in a live action world. Is there a chance to deepen that? Is there a chance to deepen the emotional connection? And if there is, sometimes you find that you make a small choice, but then it sort of starts you down a road, and then that sort of winds in a slightly different direction, and suddenly you're at a whole new scene that maybe we didn't think we were going to have, but is really exciting. Like one of my favorite moments in this movie is Nani underwater with Stitch near the end. I wouldn't say that was like an idea we knew from the get-go, but you make enough choices of sort of who her character is, and suddenly it feels organic. And I think, as Dean has said many times, like you've achieved success if the audience isn't sure if that was in the original movie or not.
Yeah.
And I think that was something, I thought about back on Aladdin, and, I think with both movies, if you really do a side-by-side comparison, they're vastly different. And I think that's part of your job, is to bring something really new for audiences and the experience. But I think there's so many people that also watch them and are like, oh, you got it just right. It feels just like it, and I think they're both compliments. You want to sort of make sure that the audience feels like they're getting what they want out of the experience, and as Dean said, sort of rhyme with the spirit of the original.
Yeah, no, you kind of touch on something I wanted to bring up, which is like anytime you touch a beloved property, something cherished like Lilo and Stitch, fans are going to come in and have strong opinions either way. How do you approach that kind of pressure creatively?
I do think that there's something to the Hippocratic oath about do no harm is the first golden rule. So that has to be sitting way up there. But then I think creatively, I think the simple answer is you try to find people who either worked on the original film, as we did, or you find and hire people who are obsessed with the original film to a really unhealthy degree, and then you know that, and then you know that they have something inside them that is going to be, guidance and sort of bumper rails so that you never veer too far off course. And then I think it's it's about being gut checking everything, taking every piece that you are going to take from the original movie. Those are two very different mediums, and you need to take each piece individually, inspect it, talk about why it works in the animation and why it might or might not work in live action. And then if it doesn't, find something that is, rhymes with it kind of spiritually.
Well, looking forward, I wanted to ask if Disney greenlights a sequel, would you guys be more interested in adapting Stitch the movie next, or Lilo and Stitch 2, or maybe going in a completely unexpected direction? What would your desire be, I guess?
Hard to say without this movie coming out first. So I'm always of the let it come out. Hopefully everybody loves it, and then we can have a conversation about that. But yeah, I don't know. You could imagine it going in a really sort of fun and original way, and there's certainly other things to draft off of. There's characters you probably saw. There's a little tiny Easter egg of Angel and Leroy when he's kind of debating what experiment he's going to make or what he's drafting off of. So there's a really rich world out there, which is exciting, but don't know where we'd take it. So
just waiting to see Ruben in live action. That's all. Guys, thank you so much for your time. Like I said, I don't think sequel talks will be a problem after this comes out. I think kids are going to love it. So you guys did a fantastic job. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks so much.